Now, the missile theory of the Nashville explosion is hereby resurrected. I had initially thought that it was a missile, and then I had shifted into favoring maybe a directed energy weapon over the last couple of podcasts, and now I'm kind of favoring the missile theory again for reasons that will become clear because of the analysis from Jeffrey Prather. So, as it turns out, the reason there's no crater in the street, which is explained by a missile, is that it could be a very small guided missile where agents on site, FBI or CIA on site, were painting the ports in the sidewalk, the covering of the openings into the lower level shafts, and that they directed a deep penetrating small bomb or small missile into the underground target, the underground bunker. And that's why there was no crater in the street, because the bomb didn't hit the street and the bomb didn't hit the RV. It penetrated through the sidewalk. So that's a theory we're going to talk about here. That would be an IR painting, an IR target designator for a relatively simple, small diameter bomb, as they're called. All right. But along those lines, on the direct energy weapons argument, I do want to mention that Bill Binney, who is, I believe, a former CIA guy, yeah, he is tweeting about his confirmation that U.S. Air Force drones have been using directed energy weapons to attack his house. And apparently, he is confirming that there were assassination attempts against him using direct energy weapons. So anyway, Jeffrey Prather, let me walk you through some of what he has concluded here. He says the Nashville bombing is definitely a deep state covert operation. And he says, in a sense, it's good news because it shows that the deep state, and he's convinced this is a CIA FBI combination strike to take out this AT&T data center, likely involved in the contractual audit of the Dominion voting machines that were reportedly being held at that location, and that there are ongoing investigations into vote fraud that are very effective and that are freaking out the deep state. And that's why the deep state has come out from cover and has exposed these big resources. You start bombing things in the middle of a city, you're going to raise some eyebrows, right? You're going to get some attention. You start bombing an AT&T comms building used as an NSA spy hub with an underground bunker that has, Dominion audit capabilities and so on, then yeah, you're really going to raise eyebrows at that point. But check out the reasoning here. He says that, the FAA declared a no-fly zone. Essentially, I forgot the proper terminology for that, but they banned anyone from flying over the area. Why would they do that if it was a bombing on the ground? There was nothing happening in the air unless there was a drone dropping a missile, which we'll get to in a second. But why declare a no-fly zone over an explosion on the ground? I mean, if a car blows up somewhere in Los Angeles, they don't declare the city of Los Angeles to be a no-fly zone, do they? No. Something else was going on. Now, about the missile trail that we see in the Skyline video, Jeffrey Prather says it makes sense because a lot of these bombs, they're falling with gravity at first, and then they fire their propulsion systems at the very last instant in order to maximize their acceleration, especially if they are deep penetrating bombs. So they accelerate their velocity very sharply right at the very end, and also to correct their trajectory. And they're self-guided at that point, but they're usually aiming at a target that's painted with an IR laser, typically. So somebody is on the ground shining a laser at the point on the sidewalk where this missile needs to penetrate to go into the underground bunker. The missile is dropped. Turns out it's probably dropped from an MQ-9 Reaper, is what Jeffrey Prather is saying. One of his sources has told him this is probably a 250-pound SDB, a small diameter bomb, dropped from an MQ-9 Reaper, which is used by the CIA. And by the way, don't forget that Chris Miller already told the CIA, no more DoD support for you beginning January 5th. Remember that letter? Huh? That's right, because the CIA is running active execution squads and assault squads on U.S. soil right now, and this attack in Nashville was part of it. The CIA is trying to destroy the evidence of vote fraud because it's compelling evidence, and it's enough evidence to keep Trump in office and see a lot of deep state traitors arrested and charged with treason. So the CIA runs an MQ-9 Reaper over the skies of America and is able to drop a bomb through someone on the ground painting this, drop a bomb into the underground bunker, which is why there's not a crater in the street. It blows up underground. It destroys enough of the RV so that, but, you know, it doesn't completely obliterate the prisoner they have in the RV, which is the Warner guy that the FBI went and kidnapped and stuffed him in an RV, either his RV or a lookalike RV, and then they could find his DNA on the scene, which seemingly you wouldn't be able to find DNA if the bomb hit the RV or the bomb was in the RV. There would be no DNA left from that. No. They made sure they could find some DNA because the bomb didn't hit the RV. The bomb it penetrated the sidewalk and exploded underground. I mean, this is a theory that Jeffrey Prather appears to be explaining, if I'm getting it correct. If I'm saying something incorrect, I apologize. I'm trying to summarize what I think he was saying. So this explains a couple of things. This explains why the airspace over the city was shut down, but also remember that the bomb took out the Memphis Air Traffic Control Center called ZME Nashville. And by taking out the electronics that control the high altitude air traffic control, and I mentioned this yesterday, the ZME Nashville was taken out, and we cited a news source for that yesterday. It allows the drone, the MQ-9 Reaper, to escape without being spotted on radar. So you see, in fact, I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday, but it seemed like part of this attack was to blind the air traffic control systems to whatever was happening in the skies. So part of that seems to be that the Reaper's bomb blinded the systems, allowing the Reaper to escape without leaving a radar trail. You know, very clever system there. Now, according to sources of Jeffrey Prather, this bomb, this 250-pound SDB, has 1 meter accuracy and a 47-mile range. So the Reaper would have been at very high altitude, above normal air traffic, and it could have been as much as 47 miles away because there is a bit of a glide path that these bombs can pursue. They have, you know, fins on tail fins, so they can adjust their trajectory and so on. And maybe this has its own propulsion system. Maybe it's a different kind of bomb. Maybe it's not just a gravity bomb, and that would explain the trail that we saw in the sky. Anyway, this particular kind of bomb has penetration capability, and Jeffrey Prather believes this entire thing was a deep state hit, and that the FBI responded in 45 minutes on Christmas Day, which is unheard of, because the FBI was there to bury the evidence, and that there was likely a firefight on the ground, and then the firefight was part of a team, a black hat team, Prather believes, that was there to try to acquire equipment or, you know, take something out before the bomb hit. And then the bomb was there to clean up, you know, destroy any evidence of the break-in. And then the FBI showed up immediately, or 45 minutes, in order to destroy the evidence. So it's the same MO as Waco. The FBI, and in that case, the ATF, they're there to burn down the building, torch it, burn the evidence, burn the bodies of the children and the women that they shot. And if you don't know that about Waco, go back and read your history. I think that was 1993 or thereabouts. Same MO as Oklahoma City. Same MO as 9/11. The evidence is always destroyed. And in fact, by the way, it's the same as Sandy Hook, the school shooting. What was that, 2012, I think? So then after the school shooting, with all of the staged fake parents who were put on TV as actors, who also doubled as like SWAT team snipers who don't know how to carry rifles because they were carrying upside down by the magazine. Funniest thing ever. Crazy. So what do? They burned down the school. They tore down the school. And the narrative was that the existence of the building was too emotionally difficult for the parents. And so they had to tear it down. And by the way, I'm not saying that nobody died there. They killed real children. But then they augmented it with fake parents for the CNN cameras. Okay, they killed children elsewhere, probably dragged them in over there and set it up. But it's the same thing. It's all staged, all of these events, even though there are real deaths and there are real explosives, real bombs, the narratives are faked, and they always destroy the evidence. They always make sure that the building is knocked down or the 9/11 ground zero is completely trucked away and cleaned up before there can be any kind of a forensic audit of the building, or look at the structural failures. How did building 7 magically fall like perfectly pancake style, when that's only possible if all the structural support columns fail simultaneously? And there was only a fire in one office in that building, and that building wasn't even hit by airplanes, by the way. World Trade Center 7 was not the 2 towers. World Trade Center 7 was the 3rd building. Well, they used demolition. They used explosive charges that had been in there long beforehand, probably months before, and they pulled it. The building comes down, and then they sweep away all the evidence as quickly as possible. This is the role of the FBI, as explained by Prather, is to eliminate the evidence as quickly as possible and usually find a patsy, such as this Warner guy, who's now apparently being described as a guy who was a Muslim convert. So all of a sudden, how did Muslims get blamed in all this? There's a big question. When did Muslims get thrown into this mix here? And they're just making it all up now. It's like, oh yeah, this guy was a genius. He could build a massive bomb, and he could record loudspeaker systems with a woman's voice and broadcast those all over the city somehow. And he just randomly parked it right there. It happened to be in front of the AT&T Center. We don't know, but then he could magically direct the blast of the bomb away from the RV. So there's no crater in the street, but somehow there was this blast that exposed these ports in the sidewalk where the RV wasn't even parked, because the RV was parked one address away, like 50 feet away or whatever from that. But this guy, this Warner guy, he was a genius, and he was a Muslim genius because he detonated it at sunrise. That's the thing. He must have said a Muslim prayer and detonated at sunrise. And now that he's gone, the case is solved. That's what we're hearing from the mainstream media. They're depending on you being completely stupid. Number one, there's no evidence whatsoever this guy's a Muslim. Although you can bet the FBI in the days ahead, they're going to drag out some neighbor, right? Some neighbor that they paid off, or threatened, some neighbor come up. Yeah, he told me Allahu Akbar the day before. Yeah. Some neighbor that's like shaking out of fear, maybe an illegal alien living on the block who doesn't want to get deported. I'm sure he was a Muslim. I saw him with a prayer rug or something. This is the way the FBI runs around, threatens everybody, setting up the whole terrorist thing. This guy wasn't a Muslim, and he didn't magically control bombs. You can't even buy explosives in America today without getting caught. I mean, if you don't believe me, I jokingly say this, go try it. You will be arrested before you could ever set it off. I mean, give me a break. You start running around town buying up whatever you need to make explosives. You're going to set off alarm bells all over the place. They're going to come get you before you even have a chance to wrap it up and, I don't know, whatever your detonation sequence is. I mean, you can't just walk into Radio Shack. I mean, aren't they bankrupt? You can't just walk into your hardware store, your Ace Hardware, and say, oh yeah, I need like 45 feet of det cord. Yeah, and yeah, some electronic ignition systems with remote cell phone capability. You start doing that, they're going to shut you down real quick. Oh, I need some little electronic detonators. Yeah. Go on eBay, you start searching for that. They're going to show up at your house. Try it. If you don't believe me, just try it. Yeah, they'll show up really fast. You will find out what it's like to be an actual prisoner. Yeah, seriously. All right, so just to wrap up what Prather said, he has participated in a lot of drug raids years ago. He was part of the DEA. Don't forget that. And he participated in raids on drug dealers. That's what he did. He specialized in taking down drug dealers. And he says he was deployed in lots of vans and RVs and so on. And he said, when you go in stealth mode, the RV parks and then you come out the bottom. So the agents come out the bottom of the van or the bottom of the RV. They don't open the side door and just roll out that way. And he says oftentimes they park over a manhole cover and they go into the manhole there. And I don't know what you do. Do you have like a secret map of the city sewer system or something? I don't know. But he says, look at where that RV was parked. And could people have come out of it who were involved in this heist? And also, by the way, now maybe I just haven't seen the photos, but shouldn't there be pieces of that RV around? Like an axle or something? And maybe there is, and maybe I've missed it, but from what I've seen so far, it seems like that RV just vaporized, doesn't it? Again, I apologize if I'm wrong. Maybe I haven't seen the right photos, but I'm pretty sure when the terrorists in 1993 drove a rental van into the World Trade Center and parked it there, because of course they were set up by the FBI. Remember that? They tried to bring down the World Trade Center building in 1993, and they failed, just created a lot of smoke. I mean, the bomb went off in the parking lot, but it didn't bring the building down. Remember that? Well, that van, they had so many pieces of that van, they could read serial numbers off the axles. Remember that? No, I'm serious. Go back and look that up. Yeah, I'm old enough to remember that being in the mainstream media, and we were told what geniuses the FBI guys were because they were tracking down. They found axles, they found vehicle parts, they found VIN numbers. Yeah, that's right. When vans blow up, you can still track the VIN number, according to the FBI in 1993. But now in 2020, the RV's gone. And so is the Patsy. Oh, too bad. We can't question him anymore, can we? Because he's all blowed up. Yeah. Case closed. Wrap that up. Case closed. Suicide bomber. That's it. Don't ask any more questions. Nothing to see here. Move right along to your prison training camp grocery store. Move along. Nothing to see here. It's like, really? It's not even a part of the engine block? Nothing? Not even like a tire that got blown away? I mean, even when meth labs blow up, they find parts and pieces. The tires that are on the roof of those trailers, to keep the roof on when the wind blows, those tires get blown, quarter mile away. They can find them. Something's fishy about this. Something's fishy.